debt, all because residents of the city were simply too preoccupied to care. What's taking place in Bell, California is just a microcosm of what's taking place in our federal government today. First Lady Michelle Obama recently went on vacation in Spain on the taxpayer's dime. Our country is broke, yet we were forced to spend $241,000 for the cost of round-trip transportation, hotel rooms, and 70 security personnel.
How out of touch could Obama administration be that they put on a spectacle of a vacation like that at a time when people can't pay their mortgages, when a time when people are losing their jobs, when a time that unemployment keeps going up? They're out of touch. They are the royalty, the elite, just like the stars in Hollywood. It's show business for ugly people in Washington. It's star power. They have no idea how the average person lives or feels because of the way they're treated.
The U.S. Treasury is so pathetic that they are now even accepting online donations just to try to pay down the debt.
The U.S. has no way of paying back its $13.4 trillion national debt and $81 trillion in total obligations, yet there is still no widespread outrage in this country about deficit spending. Politicians continue to promise more giveaways and lower taxes, and Americans fall for it because they are unaware of the hyperinflation that awaits. Americans continuously get brainwashed by the mainstream media to elect both Democrats and neocon Republicans who do nothing other than rapidly increase the size of government.
When I was a kid, growing up during the Cold War, I used to hear about the communists in power, the party. Yeah, the party's still in power. But instead of having one name, communist, they have two names, Republican, Democrat. It's one party. Party members, party heads, party whips. The party. They're having a party and you're paying for it.
Right now, there are candidates debating about the Constitution of this country. In fact, some of these candidates are holding up the Constitution and saying how they're going to restore it. Yet the next sentence out of their mouth is how they're going to reform an entitlement program, or how they're going to take money from a group of people to offer a tax deduction to another group of people. Redistribution of wealth is not in the Constitution, and neither is a democracy. The Founding Fathers set up a republic so that we did not have mob rule, so that we could not vote each other gifts, because they knew that if you continue to re-elect politicians that promised you more of other people's money, we would eventually destroy this nation.
In order for Obama to reach his goal of lowering the U.S. budget deficit down to $752 billion in 2015, the White House is projecting an average GDP growth rate of 5.58% over the next 5 years. In the second quarter of 2010, U.S. GDP grew by only 1.6%. To get this dismal 1.6% growth rate, the U.S. government had to spend $3.7 trillion on bailouts, stimulus bills, the buying of mortgage-backed securities, and other commitments. The U.S. government bought GDP growth in 2009 by implementing its destructive cash for clunkers and home buyer tax rebate programs.
Recently in Los Angeles, California, my friend had their car stolen. It was a 1994 Camry. And we were wondering, why would anybody want to steal this old vehicle? You know what the cops told him? That because of the Cash for Clunkers program, because of this supposedly government stimulus plan that was supposed to help our economy, thefts are up for older cars because the thieves need the parts. Parts are in huge demand for older vehicles because the government literally destroyed a working asset and sent it off to China.
The U.S. is so desperate to generate revenue now that they are taking advantage of America's concerns about inflation by selling forever stamps. Stamp prices have increased by 475% over the past 40 years. The U.S. Postal Service claims that if you go to the post office and purchase a Forever stamp today, you will be able to use it to mail a first-class letter at any time in the future. NIA considers Forever stamps to be a scam. The government is spending the funds they generate from the sale of Forever stamps and won't have the resources to meet these obligations in the future. NIA is confident that the U.S. government will soon propose more stimulus spending while the Federal Reserve unleashes additional quantitative easing. Before long, the government will go bust and will either default on its Social Security obligations or print the money to pay them, creating hyperinflation. Most likely, the government will choose the hyperinflation route, and American Social Security checks won't be worth enough to pay for the gas needed to drive to the bank to cash them. Their only value will be as toilet paper. Only then will there be a real revolution where Americans march to Washington to remove those who have destroyed our nation, just like they did in Bell, California, after it was too late. Americans today are too busy waiting 12 hours in line across countless city blocks to be the first to purchase the new iPhone 4. The $700 they spend for a defective device that will break within a year could instead be used to buy 39 ounces of silver. 39 ounces of silver will be enough to feed a family of 4 for 6 months during hyperinflation. Those with iPhones will likely recycle them for the trace amounts of precious metals inside, which will be enough to buy food for only 1 week.
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, hundreds of people waiting in line around just to get the new iPhone when, you know...
I think that that's the life that those people want to continue to live, and will live that life till the last minute because they're afraid of change, and they're afraid of this other life that, in my opinion, could be much better. You know, get rid of all the material items, get rid of all of these stores, go out and produce your own food and grow your own garden and have your own livestock. You don't have to have, you know, a giant piece of property to do that, but they're afraid, and by the time they wake up, I think it'll be too late. That's my opinion.
A year ago, most mainstream economists were predicting that we would see a U-shaped economic recovery by now.
You think this is going to be like a U-shaped recovery?
A U-shaped recovery, a U-shaped kind of recovery.
A triple U-shaped recovery.
NIA said a year ago that the